It's Wednesday night, and that means it's time for the Lamar Thomas Show, featuring the greatest receiver in the history of college football. Just ask them, Lamar Thomas.
I was born in Ocala, Florida. I moved to Gainesville to go to high school. Been recruited probably since the 9th grade, illegally, I might add, by the University of Florida. I still can remember Coach Solinger, Don Solinger, coming out to our practice one day. Here it is, this guy comes out in the University of Miami jacket, and I said, I can't believe that's Miami out here. And, you know, I wanted to go up and say, hey, I'm Lamar Thomas. And actually, I did walk up to him and I said, hey, Coach, I'm Lamar Thomas. And he said, I know. And that was the start of my relationships with the University of Miami.
Patton, another good block, and Toretto lays it out. Touchdown, Miami.
You come down here, you'll be on TV every weekend, dominating. I thought about it. I said, man, where do I sign? My mom, on Saturday mornings, I would wake up and she'd be holding my hand. I thought she was the weirdest lady in the world. But she was holding my hands and she would be rubbing them and saying, one day these hands are gonna make you a lot of money. She was smart.
So now, here he is, the great one, along with co-host Gary Ferman of CaneSport.com, Lamar Thomas.
What's going on, LT?
What's up, Gary? Here
Doing
it
good,
all.
man. Another Wednesday night.
Here it is. Here it is.
Back in Caneswear. I went to Caneswear yesterday. It was my first chance to really check out their new store. Wow, is all I got to say. Wow. A lot of stuff in there.
A lot of stuff. I'll be showing a lot of stuff tonight. I get this bright light from over my head, though. But I'll be showing off a lot of this stuff that definitely will be ready for game night right here. Look at this shirt right here. Woo-wee.
Miami Knights at Hard Rock Stadium this weekend. All right, well, first let's welcome everybody to this week's Lamar Thomas Show. I got to get my act together here. Somebody changed the header up there. Now we got it right. Welcome to this week's Lamar Thomas Show, and presented by Caneswear, as always, every single week. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com. He's LT, of course. And what you see in the background behind both of us is the brand new Caneswear. And like I was just saying a moment ago, a phenomenal store to go shopping. They're one of our sponsors tonight, along with Williamson Cadillac, where LT goes to buy all of his automobiles.
That's right.
He walks into Williamson Cadillac. The salespeople get all excited because they know that Lamar's not going to buy just one car. He's coming to buy multiple cars when he shows up at Williamson Cadillac.
And don't forget my guy, Jermaine Chambers. ET is down there. He's now in the finance department. So we rolling like that. That's how us Canes do, baby.
So he writes your contracts when you buy those cars. The show tonight is also sponsored by the Florida Beach Bowl. That's a new bowl game that's going to be coming to Drive Pink Stadium in December. And then the law firm of Ratson and Faxedomo, your go-to place if you ever get yourself in any kind of trouble. None of us ever want to, but it happens sometimes. They are aggressive. They will represent you to the mat. Very skilled criminal lawyers. So if you need them, check them out. And we'll be talking more about all these sponsors as we go forward in the show. But we also must mention La Spada's Original Hoagies, which is the sub shop right next to Caneswear. So when you go to Caneswear, you can get yourself a little lunch or dinner.
Hey, I'm live. That's right. I'm live. It's all good, baby. I'm about to eat this sub right here.
These are the fattest subs in town.
We
they
got
do not
shoppers in here
skimp.
right now.
They do not skimp at all on the meat for sure. And what'd you get tonight, LT?
Well, I'm a creature of habit. Ham and cheese, mayonnaise, mustard, pickles, pepper.
All
Not
right.
not the sweet pepper, but just a little pepper. And mayonnaise, mustard, lettuce, and of course I got my chips to go along with it.
All
Doritos.
right.
My look at this
So,
thing. Look
so
how
do we get
cool.
to see? Do we get to see? Hey, I know your mom's gonna get mad, but let's watch you take. I want to watch you take at least one bite.
All right, here we go. All right, mom and dad, don't get mad at me, but I gotta handle this. Pretty good.
Pretty
Pretty good.
good.
Chase it down my cup.
All right, LT. Well, while you chase that down and swallow, let's set the stage for this week. Cane's
Okay.
coming off an open week, and you never really know what to expect after open weeks. Quite frankly, some teams come out like gangbusters. They've been working on the opponent for 2 weeks. They've got some special plays in, like they're really ready to go for that game. Other teams come out of bye weeks sluggish. You know, they got out of their routine. Maybe didn't practice all that hard over 2 weeks, and it's going to take time to get their timing back. So you don't always know what you're going to get out of a bye week. So let's touch on that first. Obviously,
Okay.
you've had him as a player, you've had him as a coach. Why are bye weeks so hard to figure out?
Well, you kind of like you hit on it earlier. You just never know what team is going to come back. You know, if you go into that off week saying we're going to get some of the younger guys, some good practice time, some experience, like at the University of Miami back in the day, we would have the toilet bowl during this off week, and that was where all the scout team guys got a chance to go in a scrimmage against each other in front of the Letterman, and it was something that we pride ourselves in. I mean, we look forward to it each time, but for the most part, it was also for the team to get some rest, but also like it is down there right now, an opportunity for guys to compete. And this, you know, when you have a stacked running back room and you have a stack of receivers, you have, you know, these are places where guys kind of, you know, kind of fall a little bit, or guys kind of go up. You know, if you're one of those guys that say, okay, I'm right there, let me push a little harder. This is your opportunity in the off week to make those plays. But there's also a chance for a guy to maybe slip down a little bit because they thinking, oh, well, it's an off week. You know, this is an opportunity for you to compete. Now, it all depends on who your coach is also, too. I would think that Mario, you know, we grew up on Green Tree, so his whole thing is competition. You know, off week is not about if you're hurt, yeah, you can get healthy, but if another guy is doing what he's supposed to do and coming on strong, he might be the starter for that week. It's just the way it goes.
So coaches look for angles. I mean,
Yes.
you know, that they know, like in this case, they know that Mario knows his players are looking at Georgia Tech and thinking, you know, maybe a little bit ahead to North Carolina. He's got to get their attention back on Georgia Tech. But the way that he chose to do it was by creating competition amongst the guys that are on the cusp of breaking through for more playing time. And
Right.
he said, you want to play more? This is your opportunity to show us that we can trust you and count on you to be out there and performing on game day. So he created a lot of internal competition. Then he walks into his press conference on Monday and verbalizes about it, you know, talks about how they had this competition. And there's now 6, 7, or 8 guys that have stepped up and earned more playing time. And he mentioned a few names, and a couple of them, you know, made my eyebrows raise a little bit. I'm not lying. I got caught by surprise on 1 or 2 of them. But the truth is, us out here, we don't know what's really real and what's not real. He's talking to his football team in that situation. He knows that parents pay attention to those press conferences, players pay attention. So, you know, he's sending a message when he's talking about all this internal competition and more guys getting to play. You've coached with Bobby Petrino, Mark Stoops, get different coaches that do this different ways. What's the most effective off-week strategy that you've seen in your playing and coaching career? And you had them in the NFL too.
That's right. Effective. Well, it depends on where you are. It depends on where you are as far as health-wise. Effective is getting rest, but also it depends on where you are depth chart-wise, because I've won position during the off week. Uh, Never really lost one, but I've seen guys lose positions because, here it is, this guy behind you is going 100%, and if you fail to go 100% and you're going 80, those coaches are gonna get in that staff room. They're gonna talk about it, and Mario is no different. He sent me a message by mistake that he was supposed to be sending to one of the players, and I said, wow, I thought I was back in college again. But it was basically saying, hey, man, I need you to step up and practice. Okay? I need you to step up and practice. I mean, you're talking to me, I always stepped up. But whoever he was talking to, I mean, I feel the wrath because, he's basically saying, you're a good player, but he needs you to do more. And that's that's effective because he's single-handedly, your head coach is talking to you and saying, hey, I need more. This isn't your position coach. This isn't the quality control coach. This is the head coach of your football team saying, I need more. And that usually lights a fire up on the guys.
It's pushing buttons, right? I mean, you're getting into the head of your players and motivating them and making them not go just through the motions because there's not a game for 2 weeks because they haven't been playing a lot. Get their head into it, and it's really whatever works in this kind of situation for sure. Now, the Canes got a big game coming up next week. I feel pretty confident North Carolina's going to get through 5-0, and that Miami's going to get through 5-0. And then they're going to go to Chapel Hill next week. It's probably going to be a night game. It's going to be a big moment. How do you keep a football team, Lamar, from looking ahead?
Well, you preach it. I mean, you preach one game at a time, every day. And I think we last 2 weeks ago, we had Mario on and we tried to trick him up a little bit, but he was full head of steam on one game at a time. I think the game at that time was Temple. I mean, it's easy to look past those type of teams. It's easy to look past the Georgia Tech, especially when you watch them the week before against Ball State. But at the same time, you preach to those guys, hey, this is an opportunity for you to go out and dominate. Do it. And if you can't, it's a guy behind you. He's willing and ready to go in and dominate. And if he does, he might not be seen the next week. So, it's I would say it's competition, it's friendly competition to an extent, but also those coaches are looking for this team to be better, and they're gonna they're using this off week for that purpose.
So they're bringing a lot of recruits in this weekend. Jeremiah Smith, that's one you'll be interested in. About five top shelf receivers on the recruiting list this week, LT. They're showcasing the passing game this week, I think. But the weird thing is when you talk to people about Georgia Tech, they tell you that you can run like crazy against them, that they're not very good on run defense. But I don't think Shannon Dawson's going to be looking to run the ball up the middle a lot this week with the type of talent that he's going to have in the stands watching this game. I think Miami's going to try to light it up on offense and put on a show for the number one recruit in America and a lot of other top receivers that they would like to bring to Coral Gables alongside him. But they're making it a special night. We're going to have Dan Radakovich on the show in a little bit. I'm sure he called the ACC office and asked them, can I please have a night game? We want to do Miami Nights. We owe it to Adidas. We want to create this Miami Nights promotion and showcase our team. We'll draw better. It'll help everybody. It'll be a good show for ACC Network and the whole thing. And so they got this game on primetime ACC Network on Saturday night, and they've got the Miami Knights promotion going on. You've got one of the it was a polo shirt.
Yeah.
You got one of the polos on, and they've got hats and jerseys and all kinds of Miami Knights stuff. They get the folks over there at Caneswear. They've had this stuff sitting around for over a year because they were supposed to do Miami Knights last year, and they never got around to doing it the way the season went. So they've got all this Miami Knights gear sitting there at Caneswear, waiting for you guys to come by. And I'd say go there on your way to the stadium, get yourself all decked out in black, and help make it a special night for the program at Hard Rock Stadium, because it's a big one with the level of recruits that they're going to have, the opportunity to go 5-0, get the kids engaged. Like, you create an environment, LT, and you did this as a player and as a coach. You create an environment like a Miami Knights environment, and make people feel it's a special moment. That helps fuel the football players to play a better game, doesn't it?
It's supposed to. I mean, this is something that's different. It's out of the norm. Obviously, a night like this, national television, 8 p.m., Miami Nights, everything's going on. Those kids are jacked up. It's like when we would play a West Virginia on a Thursday night. You can't help but get jacked up because, everybody's watching. And with this blackout type of atmosphere, everybody is going to tune in because, unfortunately, we are the team that everybody wants to watch, but I think they want to watch us to see us fail in some way. And this is a great opportunity for Miami to buckle in, take one game at a time and get this done. And then those naysayers that are still on the fence, they'll say the next week, oh, well, maybe I'll watch the Miami. Maybe I'll go to a Miami game. And I think that's what they're struggling with right now, some of the fans in South Florida. They've had the issue of, team starts off good and all of a sudden they fail or lose a game they're not supposed to lose. And here we go again. But I think this team is a little different. I know this team is different because obviously this guy's from the same cloth. We started this thing together, so we're all speaking the same language. He wants to win, and he wants to win in the worst way. This isn't Al Golden. This isn't Manny. It's not even Mark. Mark was more the sensitive, but he was a UM guy. But this is a guy that's through and through Miami, and he's all about effort, getting it done, and dominating. So I feel for those kids because I think he's a younger type Jimmy Johnson type guy, and Jimmy Johnson was hell, man. Woo, he was hell.
Man, I feel bad for Al Golden. He lost the game last week with 10 players on the field. The poor guy.
Al Golden,
Jesus.
Poor guy.
But
I guess he's not wearing the bow ties no more.
No, not up in the press box.
Not the bow tie. He wore the tie. He wore
the regular ties. Yeah. LT, in a game like this, how about the special uniform? The coming out in all black, the crowd all in black. Does that mean anything to a player?
So, unfortunately for me, playing for the University of Miami, where we only had 2 jerseys at the time, then going to Tampa Bay, where we only had 2 jerseys at the time. When everybody else was doing the 75-year throwback jerseys, we just put on our regular jersey and slapped the patch on it. Bing! You know what I mean? And then with the Dolphins, I only had the 2 jerseys. So the special jersey, I missed all this. I missed all this as a player.
You missed everything, man. NIL.
Yeah, NIL, I missed it all. But, as a coach, seeing these kids and, being at Louisville, the different combinations, being at Kentucky, the different combinations, hell, even being at Western Kentucky, the different combinations, the chromed out silver helmet. The kids get hyped, man. They get hyped for stuff like that. Now, obviously you would want them to go out and play up to that hypeness, And most of the time they do. But they are hyped about apparel, man. These kids, today's kid, is all about it. They want to see combinations. They want to see different stuff. They want to see jerseys like the black. I mean, this is all what these guys, when they come to your campus, they're going to take pictures in that equipment room. They want social media. They want it all blasted over social media. I mean, it's back in the days. It used to be you come to the campus and let's see what were we looking for. Well, yeah, we saw a little bit of facility. Yeah, we saw the dorms. Nightlife was great. But these guys nowadays they want to come in and they want to see that jersey coming. They want the gloves. They want to put on all. Even the parents. I've seen parents like, come on, bro, don't put that on.
Yeah.
Look at them belly hanging out like that. You look like Jerome Bettis. You know what I mean? It's just, it's today's kids. This is what they want. This is what they need. But the bottom line is you still got to win football games.
All right. Well, we're gonna go now to the guy that I know is the mastermind behind Miami Knights this week, and that's Miami Athletic Director Dan Radakovich. And Dan, thank you so much for making time for us tonight. Welcome to the Lamar Thomas Show, the greatest show on earth. Just ask him.
Well, guys, it's great to be here. We have and Lamar, I got to tell you, just today, the NCAA Council put forward a rule. It hasn't been adopted yet, but they put forward a rule that all of those photo shoots and things, unless you're on an official visit, you can't do them anymore.
Good.
So we'll see if it passes. But I'll tell you what, I don't think there's a college football coach in the country who would not raise their hand and say, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Because they're doing the things you just talked about. Some of the folks who just come on visits or unofficial visits and things like that. So you also said a second ago about Mario, and I will tell you, I've had the really good fortune of being around some incredible football coaches. And I've got to tell you that there's no one that works harder than Mario Cristobal. And he's a pleasure to be around because he's singularly focused on making the program the best it can be. And that's something that I think our fan base is beginning to learn and understand. But I think that as time goes on, we'll be able to see that manifest itself into not only really great student athletes, but I think winning football that'll bring more and more people to Hard Rock Stadium.
Well, Mr. Radakovich,
Dan,
we appreciate
William Lamar, it's Dan.
I got a chance to talk to you up in the press box. I was rubbing elbows with all the big wigs up there one time, and I was talking to you about gymnastics and adding golf, and I was just talking, and I was surprised at how candid you were with me. Oh, I just started gymnastics at Clemson before I left, and I was like, wow, he really talking to me about this. Like I literally was interested because I was like, okay, Title IX, we never had a men's golf team, and you literally was talking to me. So I was like very impressed walking away from the conversation. So I said, he don't know me from anybody, but the fact that you were talking to me about it, I felt really I walked away very happy about that.
Lamar, you and all of the players that have come here before and have made their mark really have helped build what the University of Miami is. So part of my job is to make sure that we're embracing the past while we're building for the future. I mean, the world of intercollegiate athletics has changed so much since you put on one of those two jerseys that you had. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It's really different because, a student athlete today not only has all those other choices, but how they're treated on campus. From the standpoint of name, image, and likeness opportunities, nutrition opportunities, the study hall, the Alston progress towards degree dollars that student athletes get now. It's just so different. And it's hard to explain to people. There was a number of the athletic directors were up in Washington, D.C., talking to Congress about, how we can get some national NIL legislation going. And congressmen, of course, they have much bigger problems in intercollegiate athletics to deal with.
Yes, they do.
But they just don't. They just can't grasp how different it is for student athletes today versus how it was when they were in school. And unless you're here on a college campus and see it or have a relative who's involved in it, it's a very, very different environment. Better for the student athletes, no doubt about that, but it is different.
So Dan, this is a question I ask 99% of the people that have been on the show. Somehow, some way, I've asked this question: why did you come to Miami? And well, first of all, I see you where you played tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I see you played a little tight end, and then you came to Miami a little later, athletic business manager.
Right.
Why did you come to Miami that first time?
Well, the first time I was working, after I'd gotten my MBA from the University of Miami, I went to work downtown in Miami at Ernst & Young. It was called Ernst & Winnie then. They were a Big 8 accounting firm. And I got to know some people back here on campus. And having been a collegiate student athlete, the idea of working for an athletic program in the business end of things, because that's what I was schooled in, just seemed like an incredible opportunity. And I got that opportunity here in October of 1983, and just a couple of months later, Bernie and Alonzo and Tony Fitzpatrick and all the Jay Brophy and everybody, they won a national championship. And I thought, wow, this is pretty simple. Just come here, boom, this is what happened. Little did I know, it would take 20 years before it happened to me again when I was at LSU in 2003. But I came to Miami because it was a great opportunity. I wanted to be in intercollegiate athletics. I didn't know I was going to make it my vocation at that point in time. I stayed for 2 years, went into private business, and then a friend of mine who had also worked here became the AD at Long Beach State and hired me out there to run his business operation. And then that's kind of where the journey began, 1989 out in California. So a lot of stickers on the suitcase, but it was great to be able to come back here in December of 2021. I had 9 great years at Clemson. It was a lot of fun. 6 years at Georgia Tech before that as athletic director. And this was just seemed like a great opportunity to come together with a university that was telling me, and obviously telling Mario, that they were ready to invest again in their football program and their athletic program in general. And they've done that.
Well, you definitely just answered my question I had for you, because I was going to ask you what was the difference today than back then, but it's obviously the investment in the programs.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, when you think of the 3 schools in Florida, Florida State, and Miami, they were incredible in the 90s and early into the 2000s. And then all 3 of them just kind of said, you know what, we're in Florida. We got great talent. We don't really need to build anything. We don't need to expand. And all 3 of them, kind of had some down years. Now, Florida State did have the one really good year with some great players, but outside of that, it was very difficult for those schools. So what I saw from outside was all of our people that we were competing against were building operations centers. They had all the other accoutrements from the standpoint of nutrition and health and welfare and weight rooms and sports medicine rooms. And that's what you need. I mean, you need to have those things. Now, NIL comes in and you need to have that as well. Well, those other schools have already built all the facilities. So now they're just concentrating on, okay, how can I get some NIL opportunities for my student athletes? Miami has to do both. We have to, re-enter the realm of having a great facility to be able to bring people into, because that's what you're competing against. And you also have to have the NIL opportunity. So our collective is doing a great job. We're just around the corner from being able to do a shovel in the ground as it relates to the football operations center. And it's going to be a really good thing for the entire athletic program, because once football moves out of its current location, it'll give some increased room for everybody else in the department.
Hey, Dan, as an extension of that, you talked about the financial commitment that the university is making. Do you come to Miami if that wasn't in place?
No.
Because you can't compete without it anymore.
Well, you can't.
I love the honesty.
Yeah, I mean, you just wouldn't do that because you would just be running uphill each and every day. And I think the university really understands that a big part of its history is wrapped around in athletics and specifically in football. So in order for it to continue to be the great university that is and it continues to be, football has to be a big part of that. And bringing Mario back was very, very important. And he was hired first, and then I came after that. So it was, I think the university was making that big commitment, and up to this point, we are methodically moving on board. These things don't happen overnight. And last year, folks that have seen college football, watched college football for a while, understood that what Mario was doing was making sure that the blocks were there to help build the house, and now it's starting to move in that direction. But listen, I can't tell you the number of times when a coach has come in, taken over a program, and they've had a really rough first year. There's a guy who coaches at Alabama right now who's had a pretty good career there, who lost to Louisiana Monroe his first year at Alabama. So it happens. It's part of it, and you just have to be patient. It's terrible to go through, but I think the results that you see coming out. Our start this year has been good. We have a tough game on Saturday because Georgia Tech, if they're a college football program where their 85 guys all have scholarships, their coaches are being paid. And by the way, they were embarrassed last week. They were embarrassed at home against Bowling Green. And I know that didn't sit well with those folks there. So we have to be ready for the Yellow Jackets to come in here on Saturday.
So the athletic director wasn't panicking at all going through those pains of 2022. Because you had the vision of knowing that this is part of the process when you're coming from a tough place to then try to accelerate it into the next level.
I guess I'm old enough, Gary, to understand it. I've seen it a few times. And, I was a little bit of a counsel and a psychiatrist to some of the folks who were doing that investing on campus to say, hey, guys, you did get the right people. It is going to move in a good direction. And Jim Larinaga and Katie Meyer did some great things in basketball. And I'm a firm believer that if you were a school that excelled in basketball, something else has to be good while you're growing basketball. Along the way, an athletic program has to have some successes to remind the university that athletics is important. And in 22-23 academic year, that was Jim and Katie, with our basketball programs going to the Elite Eight and Final Four.
So Katie, what a great job they did. I mean, Katie, man, I love me some Katie. My sister actually went to the University of Miami and played basketball there for Katie, and just a phenomenal coach. And Coach Larinaga, I mean, you can't say enough about him. Two great coaches. For sure, and great people to work with. So very blessed there.
So Dan, you mentioned shovel in the ground. The concept, and I'm sure Mario's pounding your door down every day. They want that building done for obvious reasons. How close are you to really putting shovels in the ground?
We have to get a couple of things taken care of here on campus, and we're moving through that process. Getting things built here in South Florida is a little different than any other place that I've worked at before. So. All I can tell you guys is, each and every day it's top of mind to be able to clear the hurdles that we need to get done and get it done this fall. That's always been the timetable, was this fall. Well, fall started on September 22nd. It goes to December 22nd. So I've got a little bit of time there to try to put up some fencing and get some things going with the building.
Are you happy with the way it's going? I mean,
well,
it is.
Yeah, it's going really well. The process of getting all the construction drawings done, what's going to be inside the building, how it's going to look. I mean, it's going to be a striking building. It's going to be something that, all of the campus is very proud of, and our alums will be proud of, and our fans will be proud of. It's just it's just going to be something that, one of the things that was very important was having that parking garage, associated with the building, because as Lamar knows, it's hard to park on this campus, and our student athletes, that's going to be about a 450, 500 car garage. And our student athletes, specifically, our football student athletes, because they'll be in that spot, they'll have the ability to park their vehicles there if they live off campus. So that's going to be a real positive for them.
And what's the price tag now? I was just going to ask him, Lamar, what's the price tag up to? I'm sure it keeps going up by the day.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Gary, I haven't looked at the price tag recently. It was somewhere in the 150 to $200 million range, and then the parking garage on top of it. So, it's just going to be a big building, but it's the forever home of the University of Miami football team. So for as long as we're going to play football here at the University of Miami, that's going to be the home. And it's going to have a great locker room, a great sports medicine area. We'll revamp the weight area, whatever, nutrition area, cafeteria, great coach's office, and a great student athlete area at the top, which will be just fantastic. A great place for our student athletes to hang out and relax.
Man, you brought up that parking. It just took me back to all those tickets I got when I was in school, man. So, hey, kudos to you guys for even thinking about that, because for years that's been a big thing as far as us alumni guys. That whole parking thing was a bad deal back in the day.
I'm glad you bring that up, because if you build a building like this and you don't give the student athletes the opportunity to use it, or they don't come around, then you've just wasted all of that, all of the monies that you put in. So they were hand in glove together, the building and the ability for people to use it, because that's what I've seen with these buildings at other places. When they come together and it's really a good place for student athletes to be around, it creates a better bond for the student athletes. They're around their coaches more. You get that culture together that people talk about. And that's what we need to have happen. And, Mario's doing a fantastic job, and our guys are right now with what we have in place. But we want to make sure to take it to the next level.
All right. So here's a question for you. This is NIL stuff. All right. There's been some massive changes in college athletics. Obviously, we know that with the NIL and the transfer portal. How do you feel like that Miami is stacking up and managing both these new worlds?
Well, I think we're in a pretty good spot. I mean, first of all, John Ruiz and his company Life Wallet did a phenomenal job, with the early stages of that. Dan Lambert and his group were very helpful. But like a lot of things, we have to be able to move forward and to morph into the next step of what we need to do. So the Canes Connection is the collective, the official collective that we have. It's been doing some really good things. It's been raising money and helping our student athletes get their deals, as well as having some opportunities for student athletes in general to have contracts with them to be able to do charitable activities, as well as working with other sponsors that they have to be able to allow the student athletes to do autograph shows or appearances and things like that to be able to earn the NIL money.
I'm not even going to ask you about the retro NIL deals. We're going to leave that alone. But if you crystal ball here, what reforms do you think would take place in each of those two worlds as far as the NIL and the transfer portal? Anything's going to happen that's going to, if you had to look into your crystal ball?
I think the transfer portal, one of the things that's really been interesting with intercollegiate athletics is both of those rules, NIL and transfer portal, ended up coming together at the same time. That was difficult. If one would have been there for a while, let it marinate, let everybody get involved, then we do the other one, I think things would have been less hectic.
Yeah.
But the transfer portal is going to be here. I don't think we're going to go back. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube with that. But
I like that.
it's going to be shorter. The periods where student athletes can move into the portal. It's 60 days now. It'll go down to 45. So you'll lose 15 days to be able to do that, which will be good because, if a student athlete really wants to get into the portal, it's hard for me to believe that they weren't thinking about that for an awful long time So when the day comes, boom, put your name in the portal. The longer that window is, the more opportunity for tampering from other places. Okay. So I think that shorter window will be fine. NIL, I think that what we really need, and it's hard to even say this, but the federal government really needs to be able to come together and make the rules the same everywhere. That's going to be hard to do because I don't think we're going to get anything before during this Congress, and then all of a sudden we get into the presidential election year of 2024, and it may not happen then. But having just been in Washington, you also have the other circumstances. What's wrong with college football right now? If you were a congressman who didn't know whether it was blown up or stuffed, and you sit there and you're looking at the highest ratings in history on television, a lot of attendance, most stadiums are 80 to 90% or 100% full. All these things happening in college football, you kind of scratch your head and say, what's wrong with it? Well, you have to kind of push it around and say, okay, well, it's not equal for everybody. It's
Right.
not the same. So whether you allow the universities to help manage the NIL, I kind of look at it this way. Pre-NIL, Ohio State was always going to have more money than UL Monroe. Okay, they just were. Okay,
Yes.
and they were going to build a bigger facility, and they were going to pay their coaches more, et cetera. So you're not going to be able to ever legislate things to be on an even keel. So if the university wants to get involved and say, you know what, we really value athletics, maybe this sport, another sport. The University of Georgia is going to have a great women's gymnastics program. They always have had one. So they're going to put money into their gymnastics program. They did it with hiring their coach, with their facility. So why not allow them to do that with NIL? Because what's happening right now is a lot of people who are giving money to universities, happening in Miami, happening all over the country. They're saying, okay, what am I going to give to? Am I going to give to the program for scholarships and building buildings, or am I going to give it to NIL? I'm not going to give both. Okay, they're going to give one or the other. So it's one of those things that I think long term, it would be great to have this the university to be able to do these kind of things or help manage it, as opposed to it always being done by an outside entity.
All right, Dan, here before Gary gets the question, I've always wanted to tell somebody who's important this. This is my idea on the whole transfer portal, NIL deal stuff, okay? Let's say someone gives $500,000, or they saying I'm gonna give you $500,000, okay? If I don't graduate, if I leave and transfer, that money, half of it should go back to the person, half of it should go to the school. The person who transferred doesn't get that money, because the whole thing is you're supposed to come there to graduate. If you graduate, you should be able to get the money. That will make people want to stay. That's what I would think. That way it cut down on all the transferring, because you got money involved, and you're like, well, I got to get my money, so I need to just stay here and just figure it out.
The only Lamar, I like that idea. The only problem is when you transfer, you're transferring to a place that's promised you $750,000 instead of $500,000.
Okay, you got me.
That's just that's the a lot of those transfer decisions are economic.
Yes, they are.
If you look at it and say, all right, what are my opportunities at school B after being here at school A?
Yes. Okay, I got it. All right, Gary, you can take him now.
I mean, the numbers are staggering, but like if you athletic directors didn't have enough to worry about with this NIL management the last couple of years, the transfer portal, helping your teams work through all that, the TV networks, the conferences decided to throw a whole bunch of other monkey wrenches into everything with this conference realignment derby, and it has been insane. Nobody knows who's going to be playing where from 1 month to the next. I'm going to start with the SEC. Has the SEC, Dan, become too powerful to the point where there is so much money for them that these other conferences are not going to be able to keep up, and they're totally disrupting potentially the competitive balance of the game that everybody, as you pointed out, is really loving more than ever right now?
You know, I know a number of my colleagues talk about, that revenue gap and that revenue disparity, and it's there. It's real. But, a lot of years ago, when I was one of my first years at Clemson, Clemson played Ohio State in the Orange Bowl, just up the street here, and Clemson wasn't a whole lot of anything at that point in time. They were just kind of moving up the ladder. And I remember talking to Dabo Sweeney, and I said, if we compared checkbooks at the 50-yard line, we shouldn't even be in this game. Okay, from the standpoint of what they were paying their coaches, what kind of facilities they had, how much revenue the whole organization had, how much money they got from their TV deal. Well, they didn't do that. It was played by the 11 guys on one side and 11 guys on the other. So it's still a people business. I mean, Clemson won that game. It was the first time they ever won a BCS game because it was about the people. And that's why for all of these years, Texas, with the largest annual athletic budget in the country, has not won everything. Okay, yeah. Texas A&M hasn't won everything. I mean, it's still about people. Now, and I believe this too, where it gets harder is as you have success trying to keep those good people, you need the resources to be able to do that. Right. But I feel like if you're in a league like the ACC, and this is a great league for the University of Miami, okay? I look at if we went to your example, the SEC, we wouldn't be playing at Georgia Tech on Saturday, okay? We would be playing that great game that we had against Texas A&M. That becomes a weekly event, okay? And that's difficult on student athletes, okay? Yeah. So sure, the dollars are good, but I think there are other ways to be able to make those dollars along the way. The Big Ten has a lot of their universities, their public universities, sponsor 25, 26, 27 sports. Here at the University of Miami, we have 19. So I mean, that's a lot more mouths to feed, either from student athletes or from coaches or facilities, et cetera. So maybe that gap in the dollars that they have is not netting all the other monies, because I firmly believe that if you're at a school, football, because of their ability to create revenue, is going to get what they need. The other sports, if you have a better media contract, they're the ones who are going to be more advantaged. 20 years ago, the SEC had okay softball. Now, the SEC, because of the increased money, where did it go? Well, football was already getting all the money that they needed. Okay? Basketball in the SEC has gone forward. Men's and women's, softball, gymnastics. These are sports that have risen up over the last 10 to 15 years because of the increased revenue that has come into that conference. So if you just take a half step back, say, well, football's always been good because they always got the revenue. Well, the other sports have gotten better, baseball for sure, okay, in some of these conferences, SEC a great example, because the resources were there. So I don't know. I still believe you can compete, even if you're not in one of those two conferences.
So what does it all mean for Miami? What's it all mean for Miami, Dan? Like what what does it mean for the future? What does it mean for the ACC? Is the conference going to stay together? If somebody leaves, does Miami have to react differently? Make it all make sense for everybody that will watch this.
Sure. I think that the ACC is in a good position. I mean, the addition of Cal, Stanford, and SMU at reduced revenue share rates for the short term has been really good. It's created a pool of money that the presidents and the presidents have said we're going to take those, and if you're successful in this league, you'll be able to get a larger share of the pie. Okay, so no one's going to go backwards because they're not touching the television money. But with these new dollars that are coming in, whether it's from the expanded CFP or from the dollars that are coming in from the other schools foregoing their television dollars, as part of their engagement into the league, this pool of money will be distributed to those who are having more success within the league. So that's where I like that opportunity. Okay, I like the opportunity to be one of those programs in the league, whether it's in football or men's basketball, to be able to say, okay, let's see how good the University of Miami could be, and if we're good, we'll get rewarded.
Hey, by the way, when you talk about Stanford, I went to high school with Bernard Muir.
Oh wow, Bernard's great.
He's awesome. So when you get to see him, tell him Lamar said hi.
I sure will.
Hey Dan, what if FSU or Clemson leads? Does that affect us here at Miami at all?
I think it would affect us because obviously we have a great relationship with both schools. I mean, we want to play both of them. We do almost every year with FSU every year, Clemson a number of times, over our scheduling time. But the league would still be, where it is. I mean, we're not going to fall below any contracted number that would allow ESPN to come in and say, hey, look, we don't want to have the league any longer. So I don't know that there's, for both of those schools, for any school within the ACC, where are they going to go now? Because I don't know if the Big Ten is looking to expand anymore. They took Oregon and Washington. They had the two schools in LA. The SEC, if you just look at history, in 91, they took Arkansas and South Carolina. It was 20 years before then they took Missouri and Texas A&M. And it was another 11 years before they took Oklahoma and Texas. So they've said numerous times that, hey, look, we want to integrate these schools into our league and make them part of our organization and get them comfortable before they look again. So we'll just see what the landscape holds. But I will tell you that there's nothing. We joke around the office that, for bloggers and sports writers and everything, realignment's like crack cocaine. Okay, they just can't get enough. They can't. As soon as they hear about it, they start to jitter and they go, "Where are we going to go with this?" It's a bad disease, Gary. You got to stop. Just say no.
It's all people want to talk about, and everybody thinks that Miami's better off in one of these other conferences. And I've maintained from day one that Miami is not better off in one of those other conferences. That the ACC is the right place for Miami. The ACC just has to do its job to keep growing the revenue.
That's exactly right.
Well, I tell you what, I've been very impressed by this conversation with you. I was so happy that you got this gig and I got a chance to talk to you, and you've been everything. I mean, I asked around. I know Dabo pretty cool. We talked when I was at Louisville a lot, and he talks very highly of you, and most everybody I've met talk very highly of you. So we're excited about you being here, and we know the sky is definitely the limit. And you're gonna get us some gymnastics. You're gonna get us men's golf. What else we working on?
Softball first, Lamar.
Softball, okay. Hey, we can do softball. Now, where are we gonna play?
We got a little corner here that if we can get the right people to put the thumbs up. We got it figured out. We went out. Went out and measured. We went out and measured that all together.
LT, I knew back in 1983. Back in 1983, when we were in intramurals together, and he was pounding softballs all over campus. I knew he'd come back one day and bring softball.
Great sport. It's a great sport.
Hey, does that have to do anything with maybe being over by the elementary? Maybe. I don't know. That's like we don't know.
We don't know.
Hey, it's been great. Thank you
Guys,
so
thank
much
you
for
so
coming
much.
on the show. I will see you Saturday. Cause I'm not
Absolutely.
finished. I'm gonna act like I'm your best friend now. All right.
Well, absolutely. I will definitely make my way over to the alumni area, and it's always fun to go over there. That's a great place to see everybody. So, guys, thank you so much. I think we still have a volleyball game going, so I'm going to go see if I can catch the end of it.
All right. Thank you so
Good
much.
seeing you
Right,
guys.
Dan, thank you. And I'll make sure Lamar knows that NIL is not retroactive, that he can't dial it back.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Dan Radakovich. But yeah, but that was enlightening. That was enlightening. Give me 1 second here, LT, because our next guest just suddenly got his equipment working.
Okay.
And we'll get to him in a minute. I hope he can hear me, but I see him. I hope he can hear
Yes.
me.
Right.
If you can hear me, Ray, give me a thumbs up, and we'll get you on the show here in a moment. But LT, you're sitting in Caneswear. We've talked so much about Caneswear through the shows each week, and this is a special week for Caneswear because of Miami Knights. And
I've been waiting on this.
they've been waiting for over a year. You know, I remember last year when they canceled Miami Knights.
Oh,
Brett and Ken, who own and run Caneswear, were like flipping out because they hadn't put all these massive orders for all this Miami Knights merchandise, and they couldn't sell it because the promotion never went. And Miami didn't play a Miami Knights game last year. So, Miami Knights this week, Caneswear. Let's take a moment right now and let's show everybody a little bit of a glimpse of the new Caneswear.
Welcome to Caneswear. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fans shop.
That marquee that they have out front at night, I mean, that's like money, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where they got that sign from, but it's big and bold and bright. And I mean, what a great storefront that creates. But you see all the stuff around behind me around LT, and Caneswear has the largest selection of Miami Hurricanes gear that has ever been assembled under one roof. They have the t-shirts, jerseys, polos, hoodies, hats, flags, decals, magnets. Anything you could want, you will find at Caneswear. Well, that's a nice cup too, Lamar.
You like that?
I like that. But they have all different sizes for men, women, kids, babies. And you know what? You can even go to Caneswear and find an outfit for your pet.
That's right.
They have pet clothing at Caneswear. So you want to tailgate at Hard Rock this weekend for Miami Knights? They'll even hook you up with some tables and chairs. They have Dolphins gear, Panthers gear. Panther season's getting ready to crank up. Inter Miami's in full force. They've got the Inter Miami shirts and jerseys. They'll have messy stuff as soon as they can get their hands on some. It's become the hottest thing in the world, obviously. So this is a great time to go to Caneswear. They're at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, right next to La Spada Sub Shop, where Lamar got his dinner tonight. LT, why don't you take another bite of that sub for us?
Hold on. You ain't said nothing but a thing. You ain't said nothing but a thing, player.
See, I'm creating an excuse for you to eat, Lamar, without your mom getting mad at you for eating on camera. And if you can't get to the store, go to caneswear.com. Obviously, you can shop there 24 hours a day. So visit the store, 2655 South University Drive. It's about 15 minutes north of Hard Rock Stadium if you want to go by on your way to the stadium on Saturday, or go to caneswear.com for all of your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. And LT, the show is also sponsored by the law firm of Raxton and Faxedomo. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those guys? Well,
obviously, this law firm, they do an outstanding job. Look at right there, Mickey and Faxedomo. They're two of the top attorneys in Florida, hell, in the world. They do an outstanding job down there. They're very aggressive. They're high percentage in winning cases. Mickey actually does. I've known Mickey years. She actually does a lot of work for college students. So if you're a parent, and let's say one of your college students gets in a little trouble, which we don't want anybody to get in trouble. They're definitely the people to call. who knows how things happen when you leave the stadium. This is a good number to have to call. What's that number up there, Gary? 305?
305-600-3519.
Right.
305-600-3519.
Good number to have just in case. They do an outstanding job. High winning percentages. That's what you want.
All right, LT. And another sponsor of the show is a new bowl game coming to Drive Pink Stadium in December. Tell us a little bit about the Florida Beach Bowl.
Well, I'm going to talk about all the stuff they have for some of the events, man. I mean, this is a new bowl game which highlights historically black colleges, the SEAC conference, and they have a bunch of stuff ready for this. I'm trying to find my read right here, so forgive me for stumbling a little bit. But let's see, I'm going to talk about the events they have. They have a golf tournament. I think they have on December 8th, there's a celebrity golf tournament. December 9th, there's a 5K run. December 10th, there's a prayer breakfast. December 11th, there's media day. December 12th, the coaches luncheon. And December 13th, obviously, is game day. Come on out, South Florida. You don't want to miss this bowl game. They're even going to have like a little concert. This is hey, this is something for a lot of those smaller schools to get their opportunity to be in the big lights, to get a bowl game. Come on out and support. I think it's going to be a hell of an event for the next couple of years.
Are we allowed to say yet who created it?
No, we're going to get him on. We're going to get him on. They're about to sign this contract. Once we get him on, we're going to bring him on, and he'll talk about it.
We'll give you guys a clue. It's a former Hurricane, but that's
right.
all we can say right now. We're sworn to secrecy. All right, LT, I think our next guest is ready to rock. Okay. So you and I were talking a little bit earlier about Ray Bellamy, and he's the first African-American football player ever at the University of Miami. And that holds a special spot for guys like yourself, because you astutely pointed out that if it weren't for Ray Bellamy, there's no Lamar Thomas, there's no Andre Johnson, there's no Clinton Portis, there's no Santana Moss, there's no Michael Irvin. You know, you could go on and on and on. All the greats that have played football at the University of Miami through the years, that Ray Bellamy paved the way for, essentially. And he started out all by himself. And he's got a book out now where he talks a little bit about it. And he's coming on the show here tonight. So let's bring him in, Ray. Welcome to the Lamar Thomas Show. I hope you're hearing us okay. It's good to see you, and just welcome.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Well, Mr. Bellamy, I've said it 1,000 times. Thank you.
I appreciate
that. Without you, there's no us. You being a 3-sport star, coming from Lincoln Memorial High School in Palmetto. I mean, what was it about Miami that, I mean, you're 6'5", running a 4.4 back in the day. What was it that got you as far as Miami saying, okay, come on down here?
Well, the University of Miami started courting me early. I must have been a sophomore when they started first talking to me about the possibilities. And they didn't really know, but it was shocking for us because when I was in school, it was segregation. And all the white kids went to one school, all the black kids went to another. So obviously, with him coming out and saying these things to me, a guy by the name of George McIntyre. As a matter of fact, Mike McIntyre, who's the head coach at FIU, it was his father. And his father came out and actually they weren't looking for me. We had guys that was just outstanding, and they was really looking at a guy named Eugene Hart. And they was also looking at my brother, Leroy, who was also a wide receiver. And, of course, we were loaded because we had a guy that wasn't even on our starting 5, played for the Oakland Raiders for 7 to 9 years and won 2 Super Bowls. So it was a loaded thing. And they started early talking to me about wanting me. They came out there, and we was practicing one day, and I ended up catching the ball with one hand. But the real reason why I caught the ball with one hand is like if they throw it in the canal, we had to start all over. And our coach beat us, so I said, I need to catch this ball. And they thought that I was doing it for them, but I was doing it for the team because we had to start from scratch again. So they started real early talking about it, and they came looking for someone, and they found someone else. So that's the way that happened.
You know, those other schools, Florida and Florida State, I'm sure they were at some point intrigued by your size and your speed, and I mean, I'm sure they were after you also.
Well, you know what? Wow, you're bringing up ghosts now. In actuality, at first they weren't. When, as a matter of fact, you know, Florida State head coach was Bill Peterson, and he said could no blacks play for him. And then we had Ray Graves at Florida, and he said the same thing. So they really was not interested in bringing a black in. And the ironic thing about the whole ordeal there is Dr. Henry King Stanford was a visionary, and the University of Miami was a private independent institution, and they did not have to integrate, and they did it first. So the University of Miami has been a leader over the years, and the University of Miami gave a commitment not just to the black athlete, but also the females. So the University of Miami is an amazing place. And they made the decision. And after they realized that the University of Miami was seriously out to sign me, then they jumped on the bandwagon. But, you know, I had gone out to visit other schools. I had been to Wisconsin. I had been to different schools in the Midwest. And, you know, my choice was to play at Southern California. I used to think that all my life because I used to watch them on TV all the time. But the University of Miami was, when you look at their schedule, we don't play nothing but the best and nothing less. And we had that private independent, and we played Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Southern California. We had the toughest schedule in the country without question. And I wanted to compete against the best. And so the university was seriously after me. They came and they showed that there was a commitment there. And the amazing thing about it is, like, I was a little farm worker guy. My family was migrant workers, so they didn't know if I was going to be a good child or a serial killer. And they took a chance with me. It's the truth, because like in my neighborhood where I grew up at, it was a pretty serious place, and we lived on migrant camps, and I saw a man get killed because another man couldn't count. So it was really poor, challenging times, and we had to compete in order to just wake up and breathe every day and get a sandwich if we can get that. So they took a chance, and I'm very appreciative of that. And the University of Miami was a leader in that area, and they got rewarded very handsomely for it. As far as I'm concerned, they got 6 national championships. Okay, that thing that they pulled out of Ohio State, I'll never forget it. I would be embarrassed to tell my children I won a national championship like that. You know, but the university was a wonderful place, and it was fair. And Henry King Stanford was a visionary. It wasn't my idea; it was Dr. Henry King Stanford's idea.
Wow. So you show up there in 1967. What was that like to be on that campus? The only African American. I mean, what was that like?
Well, you know, well, I was nervous. I can tell you that.
I bet.
And and it was different. But see, I also had an unfair advantage, and a lot of people don't know this, but I grew up on a farm way back in the woods on the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, and my family was back there, and we was the only black family back there. Nobody else lived back there, and we didn't own the land. We lived on the land, and my father worked the land for this man that owned the land. And so we were back there. So in actuality, by the time I got ready to come to college, I grew up all around people of different colors, in particular whites. That's all that was back there when I was growing up. And then my cousins and distant relatives would come out to the farm to visit us and stuff. But we was farm kids. We was out there. We lived off the land, rabbits, squirrels, alligator, turtles, whatever we had to catch to make a meal. That's what we did. And so I did have the advantage of having been associated all my life and been around white people. So it didn't make no difference to me.
Well, you told me in one of our conversations earlier that the students embraced you. The students
Oh,
embraced you.
if I ever want to give legendary credit to anyone, it would be the student body at the University of Miami. And I tell you, if you can imagine this, when I first got there, you going back to your original question, you asked me, how was it? Well, the first day on campus, I did not have a student ID card. We just got there. We get there early before all the other students get there. And I was going across campus, and I couldn't go from the football dormitories to the field house because I was turned around. I mean, I didn't know. And I was trying to find my way. And this cop stopped me and asked me if I had an ID. And I just looked at him because I did not have one. And I wanted to take his mind off of trying to be mean to me. So I said, let me ask you something, sir. I said, do you know what a field house is? And he said, yes. Well, I jumped in his car. I wanted him to know that I wasn't afraid of him and I wasn't afraid of going to jail. So I got in his car and he took me to the field house. He drove around and he took me to the field house. And when he got to the field house, I never told him my name. I never told him who I was. But he figured if I got in his car, I wasn't afraid and I wasn't doing nothing wrong. And he was right. And I got out of his car. I never told him anything. And I walked on inside the field house there to get dressed to go to practice. And the next day, on the front page of the Miami Herald, it read, University of Miami first black athlete report to campus. And it was a big picture of me, so I'm sure he figured out who I was then.
Wow. I mean, and so your teammates, your teammates. Now, all of them didn't grow up in the North. All of them didn't grow up in the South, but I'm pretty sure they had their own preconceived notions about you. Tell us a little bit about how the interaction was in the beginning.
Oh, wow. In the beginning, I was very fortunate in that I had been exposed to mean things before as a child when I was growing up, being a migrant worker and having to work in the fields and you get in contact with people that were mean. So it was some guys, they just didn't like me. I don't think they ever realized that I was a young man trying to find his way just like they were. However, they never really took into consideration that I was growing and learning and trying to be better myself. And so they just didn't like me. I'd never done anything to them. It's just because of the color of my skin. And it was just an unfortunate thing. But all of them wasn't like that, There was a guy that once lived named Lou Patel. And Lou Patel had played at Columbus High School. Well, he played at Columbus and he upset Gators. He was my quarterback. And he took a liking to me and we became friends. And then there was other guys that, Ted Hendricks. Ted Hendricks was an amazing guy. He never bought into that. He never, as a matter of fact, he went out his way to make sure that people didn't bother me in certain occasions. Yeah, so that's why he and I are still friends to this day because of his position there. But, I had guys that was from different parts of the South, from, Mississippi and Alabama and different places. And, I used to tell everybody all he ever known with blacks is they cleaned his house and plowed his fields. And I just, he never said that to me, but he was saying it. And the other guys would come tell me. So I just said to him, I said, you tell them I'm not that guy. And I wanted to make that clear that I wasn't that guy.
Plain and simple. You're not that guy.
Yep, absolutely. And I had my teammates, some of them, they went out of their way to hurt me. As a matter of fact, I had my left knee operated on. I had surgery because we was doing a walkthrough drill, And one of the guys, it was two brothers on the team, and one of them was a defensive back, and the other one was a linebacker. And he ran out of there and just ran full. We were walking now. There was supposed to be no contact. And he ran out to full speed and ran into my leg. But Mike McIntyre's father, George McIntyre, he stopped practice that day and he yelled and he told him, he said, "You listen to me. You just hurt the best damn football player on this field, and I want to have a part of it." He said, "Big Ray," he screamed at him. He said, "Big Ray is a human being just like you." And, you know, I hurt my leg and I went on. I played the season, but it was bothering me. And, you know, was done by my own teammates. But as time progressed and things began to improve and they began to know who I was, things began to fall in place. And I had some tremendous friends. My friends that was very close to me were not athletes. My friends were not football players. Now, I had a bunch of them that was close to me, like Lou Patel and Emmett Elliott and Jim Hayes. And, you know, we had some guys. Bobby Best was a good guy that I played with. Steve Sharp, those guys. It was a lot of guys that was there. But all of them weren't very kind. And I couldn't live where they lived because they did things that I didn't do. And so, you know, with a garbage can full of water falling in my room, I can't think of anything funny about that. And they lay a garbage can against the door full of water. And when I open the door to go out to class, a whole trash can full of water falls into my bedroom. And so, you know, I told the coach I couldn't stay over there. And they had the girls scared to come over there, so I knew I wasn't going to last long over there.
Mr. Bellamy, I mean, so you told me that one of the happiest days of your college career was when Chuck Foreman and the rest of the guys showed up. Like you weren't by yourself no more.
Hey, well, the first one that showed up was Tom Sullivan, and he was from Jacksonville Beach, and Tommy was an outstanding athlete. He had all kinds of rushing records, but he was a real serious athlete. And when he showed up, it was just Tom and I on the team. And we was the only two blacks. I had been there a year. And then in the interim, I came in the fall. And then the first black basketball player, Willie Allen, he came in the spring. And so in actuality, Willie and I was the two first black athletes. And Sutter came in that next year. Okay, but Sutter was a tremendous athlete. As a matter of fact, he did a lot of outstanding things on the field. He did a lot of things off the field. But he was a tremendous athlete. And when Chuck Foreman, Burgess Owens, Reuben Carter, Henry Radford, Ron Proctor, Herb Scott, I'm trying to think of all those guys that came in there. When they came in there, the reason it was so exciting and so wonderful for me is our help had arrived. And we needed help because I was working overtime anyway. And then people beat me up. It's the truth. And people was beating me up and they was hitting me when I was on the ground and stuff. I'll never forget one day we was in practice, and this was after the arrival of some more black athletes. And a guy hit me and I was on the ground because when they first came, they had to play freshman ball. And so they held dummies for us and stuff. And so I was on the ground. This guy drove on me. And Burgess Owens said to him, oh, you hit people when they're on the ground. He said, I'm going to see if I can hit your ass when you're on the ground. And I smiled. Yeah, I said, okay. You know, so it was a thing where a lot of wrong things was doing, but a lot of good things was doing too. You know, and the student body, back to that, they were just great. Those people were so nice to me, and they realized that I was a young man trying to do the right thing, and they embraced me. And if I want to talk about holistically what occurred at the University of Miami, and if I want to talk about legendary things, I have to give that credit to the University of Miami and to the student body. Those people was amazing.
Well, you were the first African-American student body president. which I
Yes.
thought was amazing. When I found that out, I was like, wow. You know,
Well, in actuality, it was only new to them, but it really wasn't new to me because when I was in high school, I was president of the student body, captain of the football team, president of the National Honor Society. I had done all that in high school. So they didn't know my background. And when they found it out, they were like, oh my God, we didn't know that. They thought, oh, he was a football player. But when they found out that I had served for president of the student body at my high school and the things that I had done, then they pretty much got on board. As a matter of fact, if you can believe this, young ladies were supporting me, and they had them shorts on, and they had my name across their butt, and they walked around. I'm telling you, it's the truth. And they really, those people. I'll put it this way. First of all, again, thank you guys so much for having me. But we had our induction every year when we do the Hall of Fame, and I usually try to make it. I have not been able to make it in the last couple of years because I take care of my 100-year-old mother, so I'm not as free as I used to be. But
right.
I was sitting next to Ed Reed, and Ed and I got inducted at the same time, and we were sitting there and we were signing autographs for people, and we wouldn't eat. Neither one of us would stop to eat. We kept signing as long as people was in that line. We signed, and if this ain't a testament. A young lady came up there and she said, Ray, and I looked at her and she said, you don't know me, do you? She said, you wouldn't know me. She says, but when you ran for president of student body, she said, I voted for you and I'm so proud I did. And I tell you, man, that was the greatest feeling in the world. It just made me feel so humble, man, to have someone say something like that to me. She said, I am so proud that I did that. And I said, well, thank you. So, in spite of all the bad things that occurred, there's a whole bunch of good things. I chose to try to remember the good things, and trying to document some of the stuff that took place there. And again, I want to say that you guys, the Black athlete at the University of Miami, did so much for that great institution. And there's a couple of things that bothers me a little bit about it. It's like they do not give Henry King Stanford enough credit for what he did and him having a vision to embrace the Black athlete. And that was Henry King Stanford doing. He told them that he wanted them to bring in a Black athlete. And then the other thing is the level of play that you all exposed the United States of America to. The great things that you did. And I want to tell you, the George Jefferson, hey, I like the George Jefferson. Yeah. And all the great things that y'all did out there on the field, it made me feel so good to see the university do well. And more importantly, is to let people know that we're performing at a high level and that we're human as well. So that's the great thing about what we've done. It's like we put it all together and we come together and we're family and we understand now. I mean, if you've been out there on that green field, you know what it is. And it's a special place in your heart and in your mind, and it's nothing like it. And a lot of times I tell people, it's a Cane thing. You would understand.
There you go.
It's just it was a treat. And the other thing that I want you guys to know is now this is ironic, but I think, Mr. Thomas, I mentioned it to you earlier today. The University of Miami have produced all kind of athletes, running backs, quarterbacks, defensive linemen, offensive linemen. They've done it all. But if you really break it down, the greatest athletes that ever been at the university consistently across the board is wide receivers. How about that?
Yeah, you just brought some goosebumps to my arms. You just brought me a bunch of goosebumps.
Hey,
That's right.
You just made his night.
I mean, I could just name them over and over: Lamar Thomas, Ed Brown, Michael Irvin. I could just go on, Reggie Wayne. I could just go. It's just a ton of them. And you know what?
Mr. Bellamy, go back to it all the time. All these names, great, but they're not even there if you don't show up on that campus. And because you're showing up on that campus, obviously it was able to smooth things over. And we talked earlier about the fact that you're coming out with a memoir on your days at the University of Miami. Let's talk about that a little bit because, for you to tell the story of how it went down, I think it's something for people to need to know because they only see the U and the championships. Well, before the U and the championships, it had to start somewhere. And it started when you walked on that campus. That's what I believe.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But you know what? The University of Miami had a rich legacy before I got there as well. And it was like a commitment to do what's right when ain't nobody watching. There was a man that once lived, and he was president of the institution. His name was Bowman Forster Ash. And he was president of the university. And the university was on hard times, and they had a difficult time making the payroll. And this man was president of the institution. He cashed in his life insurance policy and paid his staff. Can you imagine that? Now, let me tell you something. Anybody, you think about that. This man was president of the institution, and the institution could not meet the demands of its payroll. And he took it upon himself, and he cashed in his insurance policy and paid his staff. Now, is that a commitment or what?
That is a true commitment. That's
I'm
putting your
trying
money
to tell
where
you.
your mouth is.
Absolutely, I was. And you know what's really amazing is I was fortunate enough to know his grandsons. As a matter of fact, you know him, you know of him, but I played with him. Gary Dunn and Bo Dunn. And you see his name up in the raft all the time. Eddie Dunn. Yeah, well, Eddie Dunn married Bowman Forster Ash's daughter. Okay. And that was Gary Dunn and Bo Dunn's mother. Yeah. And so those people, all this stuff I learned over the years and had no idea, but it was a wonderful. The University of Miami did a lot of things, a lot of wonderful things, and they should be proud. And the legend in this thing is the university and those students that did the right thing when people wasn't watching and when people was watching. And they looked after me and they were kind to me. And don't get me wrong, I had some turds now. I had some people that did some real ugly things. There are a lot of things that they did that I never even shared with people. I just went on and I'm not just talking about football players either. I'm talking about administrators. I'm talking about people that was on the staff there that did things now. And Dr. Stanford and I had a very special relationship, but I did not go to him every time I had an issue, even though, can you imagine this? See, y'all didn't have this luxury, Lamar, when y'all were there, as great as you all were and the things that you did. But when we had a problem, we could go straight to the boss.
We couldn't go to Tad Foot. He might lock the damn door. He was scared of us.
Listen, I got to tell you a story. You're not going to believe this one. You mentioned Tad Foot. One day I was in Coconut Grove, and this actually happened. And I was down there, and down there they used to have a softball field right next to that place down there, right around the corner. And, off Bayshore Drive there, right there. They had baseball. And I was down there, I go down there and I used to play softball with the people in the community and stuff. So I was down there one afternoon and I think I was looking for a handbag. I always carry bags and stuff. So I looked for a handbag, leather bag. And this young lady, blonde hair, blue-eyed girl, came up to me and said, "Would you help me?" And she was crying. And I was like, "Well, what's going on?" why you want me to help you? You know, she was like, that guy, he just took my purse. He took my purse, and it was a guy he was running. It was a black guy. He took the girl purse. And I had no idea who this lady was. So I ran the guy down. And the only reason I did it is I wanted to get her purse back because she was crying and stuff. And so I ran him down, and I caught him. And I took her purse, and I held him down, and they called the cops. Okay, so they called the cops. And I was like, okay, I think I better walk her to her car, walk her wherever she's going so she can get back safely. So I decided that I would walk her to her car. And I walked her to the car, and she got to the car, and there was a University of Miami tag on the car. And I go, you go to University of Miami? And she go, no. And I go, who in your family works at University of Miami? She says, my father. I said, well, who's your father? She said, Tad Foote.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was his little blonde-haired daughter. And I helped her. I had no idea who she was. And that was my first encounter with the Foot besides the inauguration when we all dressed up in our gowns and stuff and marched around. I was there then.
That's right. Yeah. You're also a member of Iron Arrow, right?
Yes, I'm a member. Actually, a reporter said to me one day, he says, Miss Bellamy, he says, you have been very accomplished at the university. You've gotten every award that anybody could receive. And I never even thought about anything like that. You know, these reporters come up with stuff that people don't even think of. And I was like, where do you get that from? He said, no. He said, I want you to think about it. And he started naming Iron Arrow, this and all the different things that I was about, President Student Body. And he just went on naming all these things. And he said, what are you going to do next? I said, I hope to keep waking up. If I could just be waking up, I'll be fine.
Speaking of which, we can't let you go without telling us the secret of your 100-year-old mother. Okay, like I want to live to 100 too. Like, what is the secret potion there?
You know what? The Spinners sang a song, and it's called Sadie Mae, and he says, sweeter than cotton candy. And he says, stronger than Papa's old brandy. And that's what my mama is. She's as sweet as cotton candy, and she's stronger than Papa's old brandy. And always need a smile once in a while. She might break down and cry, but she's an unbelievable strong lady, and she's a committed woman in God's sight. She loved the Lord, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way about their mom. But I'm just thrilled that Mary Bellamy is my mother. She just been such a soldier. She worked so hard, and she lived clean. And I think that's what kept her around so long. It's like my mama didn't drink, my mama didn't smoke, and she didn't hang with the rest of the folks. Okay? So she went to church. Oh, yeah. She went to church, and she did what she was supposed to do. And she had a kind word and a kind deed for everybody. And you're talking about a lady that went to the 6th grade. And my father went to the 3rd grade. So my mom and daddy never could have helped me with a math problem, never could help me conjugate a verb, but they gave me love and they cared about us. And, you know, it's hard. You got 9 kids and you don't have an income of less than $10,000 with 9 children. And with you and your wife, that's 11. It's tough around the house. I went to school before with no shoes on my feet. And then a lot of times when I was growing up, we couldn't afford lunch, so went to school without any lunch. And when people was eating me in my mouth with money and water, but you know, I wanted something, but it wasn't nothing there to be had. And then later on, the government started giving away free lunches to families that was in need, and then I was able to get lunch. And then when I started playing football, my high school football coach and my trainer, the trainer did, you know, if you got the high school football coach and the trainer in your corner, you might be all right.
You're gonna be all right.
Yeah, and so they looked after me, and they used to tell the lady in the cafeteria to give us the food. After everybody done ate, food was left, they give it to us, and so that's how I made it. I made it because a lot of people had their hands in the pie. My first pair of football shoes, they ain't give me now. They ain't give me no shoes. I want the little girls to see me with my shoes, but the trainer was my friend. He sneaked me a pair. That's how I got my first pair of shoes. As a matter of fact, they left me home one time when they went on the trip, and I cried. I cried, but I told them, y'all hurry back because I'm going to kill somebody.
Well, Mr. Bellamy, when is this memoir gonna come out? When is your book gonna come out? That's
Say that again?
What's the title of it? When is your book gonna come out? Your memoir? When is
Hello?
it gonna come out? Can you hear me? Hello? Did I lose him?
He might have frozen up there, LT.
All right.
Yeah, it looks like
When
he
that book's
froze.
coming out.
Well, that was something else, man. Listening to all those stories. It's like I went to University of Miami several years after Ray. I guess I got there about 8 years after he graduated. But you always saw him around, LT, and he loved coming back out to the practices. And the young players like you would see him out there, and they wouldn't know who he was because he was just older and whatever. But I know that when all you guys found out who he was, you gained inspiration from him.
Well, that was the thing. I didn't know who I would see him, but I saw he was always staring at the receivers. I'm like, damn, who's that? And then finally, like when I got a little older, I asked somebody, and I just became so fascinated with the story because when I found out he was the first African American to get a scholarship at the University of Miami, I was like, that's a big deal. And to talk to him, and he's so gracious, and it's like, and we're basically saying thank you to him, and he's telling us thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything I put into it, and now I'm getting to see you guys do it. I had to fight. I had to. One of the questions I wanted to ask him, like, why didn't he give up? What drove him to get through it? And to listen to that story and to hear how the students embraced him and not really your teammates. And
4 years after he shows up, he's the student body president.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
That's truly an amazing story, a truly amazing man. Just to talk to him, I've always felt like a giddy kid, because I've always, once I found out who he was and what he was about, I always just used to tell him thank you, because what Miami became was because he walked on that campus. Yeah. And when he walked on that campus, more of us decided to walk on that campus, and it became something where, and the school embraced us. I can only imagine what he had to endure. And when we talked earlier on the phone, to talk to him about other players at other places that were the first ones, they all talk to each other at some point. And they tell their stories about how hard it was and, what they had to endure. And, when I was at the University of Kentucky, there's trophies. I mean, not trophies, there's statues up of the 4 or 5, I think it's 4 or 5 young African Americans who graced that campus, and there's a trophy outside the athletic football office. There should be a trophy for him because, again, he didn't make that jump. Look what came after Chuck Foreman and those guys, and kudos to, I love to hear the stories about number 83, the Stork. That makes me love him even more. Now, the fact that he was one that didn't play that race stuff, he wanted to take care of his teammates. So, just a great person, Mr. Bellamy. I'm sorry it cut off and wanted to find out when it's, but we'll talk about it. I'll find out about when that book is going to be published and stuff like that. I think it's going to be a good read.
He's trying to get back in. I see him trying to get back in, so we'll let him come on and tell us once he gets his technology straight. But I got another guy in the lobby that wants to get a few words in here before we go home for the night, and that's the voice of the fan, Bruce Warner.
Hey, Bruce.
What's up, LT? You know what? He is royalty. I went to the practice that they had the week before the final scrimmage, and he was there. I introduced myself, and it was like I was a former player that he was so excited to meet me. It was just to meet this guy was incredible. And you mentioned Chuck Former. He was there too. So you talk about royalty and legacies. Wow. But he's one hell of a nice guy. Really nice. It comes from his heart. He really loves the school. And you know what? I don't know if there's such a thing. I think at the end, there's these banquets. The quarterback gets an award. And this one, I'll personally pay for a trophy to have, if you can set this up. I don't know if you can. The wide receiver of the year will get a Ray Bellamy trophy.
I like that.
Now,
I
if you
think
can
it's
pull
something
it
we
off,
need to
I'll
look
pay
into.
for it.
I think we need to look into that. I think it's.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do it or not. They might not let, but I'm really into it.
nice
This guy
touch.
deserves something.
Well,
He's not.
hey, just so you know, I'm like really good friends with Dan Radakovich now, so I might I'll talk.
Why? Because you had him on the show earlier.
Yeah, I talked to him.
Oh, I
might be
Great. He was
Yeah.
great. He was really candid. He was great, Dan. That was a great segment we had, Bruce. But hey, Miami Knights, man, this Saturday.
Yeah, look, the
You
hat.
got the hat. You got the hat, bro.
I got it from Caneswear.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get me a hat or something. I got to get a shirt or something. It's a
You're
lot
gonna
of stuff.
try. You're there.
What's the viewpoint of the fan going into this game this weekend?
Yeah, what's the viewpoint?
Well, everybody's thinking ahead, obviously, to next week's game, but you can't. This is an ACC game. They took they've had a week off. We're notoriously bad coming off a bye week. We know that. We're notoriously bad looking forward to a game ahead, and we slip. We can't do that. I'm hoping that we play the same way, focused, kick some ass, but I know Mario was working on penalties, dumb mistakes, missed tackles, and the secondary. But, part of the secondary is the D-line. So is Dean back that you know of? Is he playing?
I think so, but they don't say definitively on all these injuries.
Right. I don't think Messidor's back until next week. I don't think he's coming back this week, but I think Dean will help. And look, they've got that pass rush, which has been somewhat vanilla. I don't think they've really threw a lot of stuff at these last couple of teams. They really didn't. You didn't see the quarter blitzes and things like that, but they might not even do it Saturday.
You're going to see some stuff
up next week.
This team can throw the ball a little bit. I think Landscaper is going to scheme a little bit for this game.
Yeah, I agree. Look, they faced that kid last year, didn't they? Haynes King. He was there. He was at A&M last year.
Here's the problem they're going to have. They were so poor against the run against Bowling Green. I said Ball State earlier. Same thing.
Right.
They were so poor against. I was watching the game. I'm like, holy crap, this is bad ball. So they're going to have to make a decision whether they want to run the ball with all those running backs, or throw the ball, which their offense is a throw. I think throwing offense with runs sprinkled in there. But now, what do you do? Do you take what you can get, or do you just go out and just try to dominate on every phase?
Well, I think this defensive coordinator who's coming in now is probably going to shore up that run defense. So I'm expecting him to stack the box a little bit. Not that that's the smartest thing to do against our offense, but you know what? Otherwise, we're going to run the ball down their throat all day long. That means, so I think they're going to do something.
Anytime as a receiver you see that, you thinking it's going to be a big day. Because if they're going to stack the box, they're saying,
look out, right? I know.
To throw it against us. And they should be, those receivers, Restrepo and those guys, young, they should be licking their chops, because if that's what they're going to do, you get an opportunity to shine. If
this team is not good on defense.
Jeremiah Smith will be drooling too if he sees us throw for 400 yards. I know. That's what I'm hoping.
The more successful we are, the better chance we have on getting this kid. So,
yeah. I don't think they can stop us anyhow. Our offense is in sync. I'm more worried about the defense. We've got to tighten that up, we'll talk about it next week. I was just going to say, do you think they're going to put a spy on that Drake May kid next week? But we'll wait till next Tuesday to talk about that, because this game's not over yet.
No.
No, Gary, I just you can't look past it. But I don't think they're going to beat us. There's no.
No. Their defense is horrendous. The Canes are going to score a ton of points this weekend, right. But I do think that they'll test the secondary a little bit, which is good.
Right.
I think they need to be continuously tested and keep getting better.
Right. I also saw some of the linebackers not dropping. They need to work on their pad. What do you got? You got that?
Yeah, this is nice right here.
What is it, like a windbreaker? A short sleeve windbreaker?
Yes. And this is a shirt.
They got so much Miami Night stuff. I was telling Lamar because they ordered all this stuff last year and they canceled the promotion.
Gary, I got this last year from that. That's where I got this from. I got a shirt too.
It's a shirt.
Nice.
It's a shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if guys still wear cutoff shirts, but I mean, maybe it's a lady shirt, I guess.
It's okay. You'll wear it.
Let's see. They had this was a nice shirt.
Nice.
And they got these hats. I mean, this is they. I mean, you need to come here and get yourself. I answered the phone earlier. Hello, Caneswear. Lamar Thomas, may I help you? And the guy was like, "Hey, man, I'm coming down there on Saturday, and I'm trying to get some of those black shirts, and I'm coming down Saturday." And I said, I got you, sir. We got a bunch of them here. Come on down. We got a bunch of stuff, but if you want to, you can call back in 15 minutes, and the owner will be up in here. They said, "Okay, I appreciate that. Now, what's your name again?" I said, "Lamar Thomas." He said, "Did you play for the Hurricanes or the Dolphins?"
Both.
I said, "Both."
Hey, that's a nice shirt you got on there now.
Yes, it is. This is from last year.
Yeah, that's from last year too.
Last year, yeah.
They loaded up on Miami Nights merchandise last year, and then they didn't have the promotion.
Yes, they got screwed on that. So come on down, come on and get it all. Oh, look at this shirt right here now. I like this too. Look at it. Look at it.
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh, LT, I could see that one.
I could see that on him.
That might be your Saturday. That might be your Saturday night shirt right there, man.
This might be my deal right here. This might be my deal.
All right, Bruce. Parting thoughts here as we go into Miami Nights weekend.
Well, other than the Texas A&M game, I expect it to be here with either 5-0 or 4-1. I don't think we could sit here and say anything other than that. You know that. And I think we're going to win this game on Saturday. So I'm predicting 5-0, and then 7 games left. We got to win at least 4, and I think we're going to win at least 5. But one game at a time. So I'm hoping that no sloppiness, not a lot of penalties. The offense is efficient. Nobody gets hurt. And on defense, we have a better pass rush. We wrap up people, and we come out of that game with a 30, 40-point win. And look at him. What are you drinking, beer?
No, this is water. I don't partake anymore. I've been 6 months, 6 months sober. So yes, it's all about water.
Okay. Why don't you just walk around the city with all the clothes? Just walk around with a rack. Just sell it off the rack, man. Just say LT is going to wait outside on Saturday and sell all the merchandise outside.
I would too, just to be at the stadium.
You have all day to sell the merchandise.
We got all day to tailgate, and we got all day to just. And I'm coming to some of these tailgates too. If you see me, give up the goods.
There'll be some good tailgating Saturday.
Oh yeah.
I'll sign autographs. I'll do whatever you want for some food. I don't drink, but for some food, some good food. Don't give me no crap. But I'm passing through. Stop me.
There'll be some good tailgates out there Saturday.
I saw you. Yeah.
Some great tailgates. I did have my spotted sub. It's still right here. I got it.
Yeah.
Going down tonight.
Gary, I don't know about you, but I've been going there for years and years and years. Oh, you still have it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been sneaking bites every now and then.
Well, he doesn't want his family seeing what he's doing, but it's okay.
The only problem is every one of you eat one of their subs, you're eating 2,000 calories. Oh, you got to eat them in moderation.
Get some good sleep tonight.
Yeah. All right, Bruce. We'll see what happens on Saturday night, and we'll catch back up with you next week.
Yep. Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday. I want to see the uniforms. I think everybody wants to see that. because I love this. I love how it looks, but none of us have ever seen it at night with lights on it. Have you? Have you seen it, Gary?
No.
Right. So I don't know what it's going to look like. I hope we can see the uniforms on TV.
We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right, you guys. Have a
All right, Bruce.
great week.
See you next week. All right, Ray's been. I've texted Ray. I have 3 different numbers for him, and he's not answering on either one. I see him. He's trying to get it back into the studio here, but it's not working for him. So if he does get back in, we'll find out when that book gets published. If not, we'll tell everybody next week. LT, let's play a little word association here. Let me start with Ray Bellamy.
Okay. You know, he has to go down as one of the greatest of all time. I mean, I don't even know why it took him 2012 to get in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he started it. He was the first one that they gave an opportunity to. And not only did he perform as he broke freshman records. Obviously, he got hurt a little later in his career. But he broke all kind of freshman records. But most importantly, he was an asset to that campus. You know, student body president, Iron Arrow, you know, all these things that say that you're a good person and good student. He did it. And that's a testament to everything he had. I mean, for everything he probably had to go through, to still stick it out and still be able to be successful. That's why he has to be considered one of the greatest of all times. And, you know, that's a great idea about finding out if they have a receiver of the year. It should be the Ray Bellamy receiver of the year because he started it. He's the guy. Yeah. That's why every time I see him, I say thank you.
Since we're playing Georgia Tech this week, let me go to a name that will live in infamy in the Miami Georgia Tech series because, quite frankly, he was the reason that Georgia Tech started beating Miami with a little bit too much frequency. Paul Johnson, LT. How about Paul Johnson?
Oh, my God. You brought that name up. The triple option. I mean, well, that was the most boringest football I've ever watched in my life. And you know what? Here's the thing. I had to play them in the bowl game when I was at Kentucky. First of all, your 9 possessions that you get, your 5 possessions that you get per half. I mean, you don't get the ball back. It's such a boring. So many defensive players getting hurt. So many defensive players not wanting to go in the game because they're getting cut. He had a system, and it was their style of ball. And for a while, it worked. And that was a boring offense. But you know what? You think about it. They had some of the greatest receivers ever in college football to come through there. Even
they only needed one, Lamar.
Catch one pass for 87 yards.
They only needed one of them.
Man. Megatron. Come on, man. Yeah, he had it going on, Paul, Mr. Johnson. He did for what they had and what they did, they gave people problems because you had to prepare for that. Not just the week you were playing them, but you had to prepare for that all. That's why it's so unfair to play them in the bowl game. You're not going to win. You can't prepare for that in a week and a half.
Well, he gave Miami fits. You know,
yes, he did.
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they won a few Miami Georgia Tech games while he was there, and it was very, very competitive. Let's see. Let's go to Dan Radakovich.
My best friend. Oh yeah, I got to talk to him. Matter of fact, I got to check on my basketball letter. They never gave me my basketball letter, so I'm gonna talk to him about that. Man, we're very fortunate to have him as an AD. You know, coming from Clemson, where he was able to build that program. You know, he talked about when Dabo first won that first BCS bowl game. You know, that's early in the deal, and what they were able to build at Clemson. That's why I'm hoping that you hear him talking about his vision of expanding things. You know, just talking to him about other sports last year, I was impressed because he's already been thinking, like you said, softball. You know, where do we go from there? How do we get men's golf back? What do we add? I mean, these are things that for an AD, a guy with a lot of experience. He comes in saying, let's make it happen. And I truly do believe that they will happen.
All right, and let's end with Mario Cristobal.
Mario, one game at a time, baby. I'm sure those guys grinding it out. He's been preaching competition. I'm sure they had to compete. I said earlier, the message that he sent to me by mistake to whoever he was sending it to, he
That's
means
awesome.
business.
What a great story. For anybody who didn't hear that earlier, Mario mistakenly texted LT when he was trying to text. Let's try to think, what player on the team would he have been texting? Probably somebody with the last name that with a T.
I don't know who it was, but all I know is that person. I guarantee they tightened up today, because when your head coach sends you a message like that, I need more. You got to give it. I mean, that's saying that he's counting on you. That's saying that he means it means something to him, and that's what makes me feel so much better about him being here and being the head coach. That I truly believe that it means something to him. Wins and losses here at his alma mater. Not taking anything away from Manny, not taking anything away from well, I will take a lot from Al Golden, but it just means something to him. The guy came back here. He 25 years. He broke out in this whole coaching thing to come back to get that dream job. He has it now. He's just trying to make it right. And the fact that the university is behind him is going to give him everything he needs to make it right. That goes a long way. So that new building that they're moving into, he's probably going to have 1,000 people in there to work. But that's all right. They're going to come to work every day and get to the grind, and they're going to win some ball games.
Yeah. All right, LT, we got to thank Dan Radakovich for coming on the show earlier. For those of you, if you didn't see it I guess it was about the 30-minute mark of the show till about the minute mark of the show. Go back, watch the podcast. He was very candid, very open conversation, and I think you'll get a lot out of that. We got to thank Ray Bellamy, the first African-American football player ever at the University of Miami, for coming on and sharing some of his stories with us. He has a new book coming out. We didn't get a chance to find out when it comes out before his phone died, but we will find out. We'll let you guys know. We'll find out and let you guys know next week. Got to thank our sponsors, LT, beginning with our presenting sponsor, Caneswear, the host location for the Lamar Thomas Show, the presenting sponsor of the Lamar Thomas Show, your go-to spot for all of your Miami Hurricanes merchandise. They have the largest cane store ever created. You see the picture behind me and the store behind Lamar. Tons of Canes gear for you guys to go and shop at 2655 South University Drive. That's about 15 minutes north of Hard Rock Stadium. You can go there on your way to the stadium on Saturday. We got to thank La Spada Subs for feeding Lamar tonight. He'll be eating that thing for at least the next couple hours. They are right next door to Caneswear. They make these monster subs. We got to thank the Florida Beach Bowl, which is going to be bringing a new football bowl game for historically black colleges to Drive Pink Stadium this December. And we got to thank the law firm of Ratson and Faxadomo, where you can get the most aggressive representation. If you need it, you don't want to need it, but if you ever need it, you can get it at Ratson and Faxadomo. They're in Tiger Tail Avenue down in Miami, but their phone number 305-600-3519, 305-600-3519. Hopefully you never need them, but if you do, they will fight for you, as their poster says there. So LT, I will see you.
Don't forget Williamson's Cadillac.
Oh, we can't forget Williamson Cadillac. So, thank
Williamson
you.
Cadillac. Now you know
where LT goes to buy his cars.
Right. Bought my cars from over there.
So head on over to Williamson Cadillac. Check out all their new models. They've a large inventory there. Great vehicles. Cadillac's putting out a good brand these days. So go to Williamson Cadillac down there in Kendall and check that out. All right, did I get all the sponsors, LT? You're a money machine over there.
I'm like a race car. But we need more. If you wanna join it, call us up. We got you. We'll put you on.
All right. Well, I will see you at the stadium on Saturday, I'm sure.
Right.
If I don't see you at the tailgates before, I may get there a little early, walk around myself. It's going to be a good tailgating game, this Georgia Tech game on Saturday. And most of all, we thank all of you for watching. And God, I'm losing my voice, LT. Well, you finish. I got to get a drink.
Well, we'd like to thank all you guys for watching, and obviously just understand something.
Damn.
We'll see you next week on Wednesday, but the Canes will have a great showing on Saturday night. And just remember, it's all about the you. Thank you very much, folks. See you next week.